Hello, class. Now we're moving to chapter 8, the adolescents, young adults, and adults. Some of the things that we will learn in this chapter explain why it is important for community health workers to be aware of the different health concerns of the various age groups in the United States. Well, one thing that you have to make sure that each age group builds, moves on to the next and to the next, from the infant to the child. Infant from under 1 year of age to the child 1 to 5. Then you have most of the time that extends up to a certain age, 10 or depending on the situation. Then from there, you see how it goes. From one group, if the infant is healthy, the important thing that you have to know about this is key. Even it starts from preconception, before the child is conceived. If the mother is healthy and there is a healthy pregnancy and a healthy delivery, that infant is healthy, then you're likely to have a healthy child that is growing. So most of these things are conditions that the mother, the society, the community in which the child lives have to really play a part. Because the child in vitro has not much to do as to what health situation do they find themselves. It's what the mother decides to do. See, but if the mother decides to be healthy so that she can be able to carry a healthy pregnancy, that is all good for the mother as well as the child. And as a child, as an infant, if the society provides all the necessary support to the mother or the family to make sure that that child gets all the necessary services that they need for them to be healthy, that is all good for the society down the road. Because as I said, having a child is an investment. You do good, you have a child who down the road can be also a very strong contributing factor, somebody who can contribute to the society. So it's extremely important. The child should never be a burden. It should be something that should be celebrated. That's why, as I always say, this idea of accidental pregnancy is usually not a very strong reason. But it does happen. And in some cases, mothers could be raped. Or certain strange things can happen. So I'm not saying all pregnancies should not be accidental. There are some that could be purely accidental. But it's much better when it's planned for. When the mother looks at the checklist, see those things that are good for them to be able to, for her to be able to carry a healthy pregnancy. Do away with those things. Things like smoking, drinking. If they have high blood pressure, see if those conditions are taken care of. And stressful, find ways to correct those stresses. Carry a healthy weight. Develop a healthy relationship between her and her doctor, so that when she is pregnant, the pregnancy can be a healthy one. So now, in this chapter, we'll be dealing with the adolescent, the young adults, and the adults. Now, should be able to explain why it's important for community health workers to be aware of the different health concerns of the various age groups in the United States. It's one thing about growing, it's a progression. You move from one stage to another. And it's always better when you move from one stage healthy, because you can go to another stage healthy. But if you're not healthy, moving on to the other stage, you will be even worse in terms of your health. And that can lead to a lot of problems down the road with your health. So it's extremely important to make sure that all the various age groups, their health needs are being taken care of in terms of the right type of vaccinations, the right type of food, the right type of family support, social support, community support. Because as the saying goes, it takes the village to raise a child. Everybody should make that child feel important, feel wanted, feel great. Because in the end, everything being normal, that child will be very, very helpful to that community, to their family, to the nation. And depending on what talent they have, they can be very valuable to the world. But defined by age, the groups of adolescents, young adults, and adults. Briefly describe two demographic characteristics of adolescents and young adults. Explain what the youth risk behavior surveillance system and the behavior risk factors surveillance system are and what type of data they generate. See, these are all behavior systems that can help in determining to find ways to combat those behaviors that could be detrimental to the health of the respective age group. Provide a brief behavior risk profile of adolescents. Some of those things that are common with certain groups, young adults, including college students. What are some of the behaviors that you see that is common among college students? And also young adults. Outline the health profile for the various age groups, adolescents, young adults, and adults. listing the major causes of mortality, morbidity, and risk factors for each group. For each group. Give example of community health strategies for improving the health status of adolescents, young adults, and adults. Now, the introduction. Adolescents and young adults. These are from ages 10 to 24. Those are young adults. Now, ages 10 to 24. Those are, you talk of adolescents to young adults. So, most people, hopefully, it's assumed that at that point, some have matured enough to be able to really handle things on their own. And some of them have even gone through their first, gone through their undergraduate studies, and in some cases almost finished their graduate studies. So adolescents generally regarded as puberty to maturity. Most of the time at puberty, that's where people, especially their reproductive hormones, start to express themselves. Women, in most cases, some shows start showing breast, pubic hair. Men, voice start to change, develop pubic hair, and for women, that's the time some start to menarche, when they start to experience their menstrual cycle. And say, but again, most of the time, maturity, this is a range. 10 of, and 10, at the age of 10 does not mean a female or a male is matured. They might exhibit some of those secondary characteristics. They are usually called secondary characteristics. The breast, the voice change in men, the pubic hair, and the shape of the pelvic to be able to deliver a child in women. Those are all secondary characteristics. Start experiencing menstrual cycle. Those are, but still, that does not necessarily mean, say, from 10 to 16, 17, most of the time, those are stages in which a female is still developing. And in most cases, there are some challenges because even though, okay, there's that desire for sexual activities, and but physically the body is not really ready. And at times, engaging in sexual activities at very early age can contribute to down the road, can lead to some possibilities of some women at early age start developing things like cervical cancer, because the cells within the cervical wall are not fully developed. And when being irritated during sexual activities, that can lead to messing up the structure. And down the road, that can lead to some problem. And also now you start talking about some of these virus, wherein some of the young ladies and men have been vaccinated against because of possibility of developing possible cancers along the way. People get to the adulthood when they are 25 to 64. So now you see from 0 to 1 is infant, 1 to 9. Sorry, yeah, it's infant. 1 to 9 is child. 10 to 24 is young adult. And from 25 to 64 is adult. Some people exhibit some of those trends nicely. Others could be a delay or some kind of, but again, this is just for trying to explain things. See, when everything is normal, that's the growth pattern. Wherein from age 0 to 1 is considered an infant. And most of the time, this is a very, very delicate period, because most kids, especially for Black males, there's a high percentage of infant mortality at that rate. And at times, some of it could be either genetic or behavior of the mother or environmental factors or all the societal issue, poverty, and so because there's no one factor that can really explain some of these situations. Then you have from 1 to 9. Again, certain vaccination that is required to be taken. Each of these stages requires certain vaccinations to be taken. Immunizations that can prevent you from contracting, the individual from contracting certain infectious diseases. So the years between 10 and 64, some of the most productive years of people's lives. The years between 10 and 64 are the most productive years in individuals' lives. And most of the time, it's within from 10 to 64, most kids at 12, they go to college, done with K to 12. Then from there, at 18, they're done with college. And depending on if they want to go to for further degrees, they go. But now they can join the job market. Some even at adolescents, they can join the job market. They start to be productive. So from 10 and 64, some of the most productive years of people's lives, depending on where they live. Because in some places, college is not so much of a factor. They either go to the farm, agriculture, or whatever labor force is available in their communities. So most enjoy the best health of their lives. Some people enjoy the best health of their lives. Again, that's when everything being normal, things have been going great. Because the immune system is very active, strong, and depending on the lifestyle of the individual, they are generally healthy. But if the lifestyle is not good, most of the time, those 10 to 64 might not be the most productive period for certain individuals because of behaviors that they might have engaged in that is unproductive, that could lead to poor health outcomes. Shape health through lifestyle and health behavior for later years. It's one of those you do good with your health when you are a young adult. You are investing on your health for your adult period. And when you engage in healthy lifestyle, eat right, no smoking, no use of alcohol or excessive use of alcohol. Develop good habits. Control your temper. Control your emotional health. Reduce your stress. Eat right, less salt. The 3 big enemies of food: too much salt, too much sugar, too much fat. These 3. And all of these are very, very tasty in food. They are addictive. We acquire those tastes. It's very, very difficult to move away from some of those things. That's why certain fast foods do extremely well because they have the 3. Salt, there's a lot of it in it. Certain the carbohydrates, the kind of salt-like. And yes, they have their fat. And some of those fats also comes through either red meat or some other things. So again, as a young man, you keep yourself healthy, you are likely to enjoy your old age. But if you are reckless and you do all those things because, oh, all your friends are doing that, or some of my friends, or this is the way I will be known, then you are just You're not investing for your health, because it will come a time wherein payment is due for your health, and by then you have no investment. Because as we age, our physical bodies start to break down, and most of the time they break down much faster when there is no investment, when there are other health issues that we have to deal with. Adolescents and young adults represent the future of the nation. Again, listen. Adolescents, young adults represent the future of the nation. If adolescents are healthy, they grow up to be healthy young adults. And young healthy adults can become productive citizens. They become the great scientists, the great business people, the great politicians, the great religious people, the great. It doesn't mean that, okay, some, if they are not healthy, they cannot. For everything being normal, when you are not healthy, it's very, very difficult for you to be able to be as productive as you really want to. So that's why it's very, very important, Don't fall for the new hype, or to fit in, to get, look beyond. See, now there is enough information about smoking. Smoking, everything being normal, has been proven to be a disaster in people's health. And it can be very addictive. Don't do it. Don't start, because it's easy to start, but it's damn difficult to quit. So don't start. Same with alcohol or drugs. These things all have those addictive factors. You start, it's easy. It might just be a joke. Oh, I'm just experimenting. Or my friend said, oh, try it. And this. You get hooked, your life is hooked. Your future is compromised. So, represent the health of adolescents and young adults. They represent the future of the nation. When we have healthy adolescents who will grow up to become young adults, then we have a healthy nation that is in the hands of adults. Adolescence is a difficult stage. See, in adolescence, you are not an adult and you are not a child. And so many chemical reactions taking place within your body, hormonal changes. And most of the time, that's the period of transition from childhood to adulthood. A lot of temptation. If the environment in which you live in does not provide those the support system for you to make the right decisions, or the home in which you live in, you don't have the right food system, develop the right attitudes, they can be very, very difficult. And unfortunately, today it's becoming very, very challenging for a lot of our adolescents because of the nature of the home system. The home structure is slowly becoming very, very challenging, wherein mothers have to raise kids, or at times grandparents have to raise kids. And they 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 try, but at times it's not as easy as if it was the young adults are raised by the father and the mother. So comfort and security to complex and challenging situation. Young adults complete physical growth, experience significant life changes. Again, you're talking about all those secondary characteristics. Muscles develop, pubic hair develop, young adults start growing beard. Some feel as if, oh, now I have a beard, therefore I'm this. Again, it's still it's a process. Now, many health beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors are adopted and challenged. Many health beliefs that are formed from starting from the parents. What are the health beliefs of the parents? The community, the society. What are the attitudes of the parents? Because again, the first teachers of every young adult, of every infant, starts with the parents. They are our first teachers. And unfortunately, in some situations, our teachers, because of their own challenges, do not provide the right type of experiences, especially when it comes to poverty. A poor family who can barely afford food will do most of their shopping at convenience stores, wherein most of the things, as I said, the three: high salt, high sugar, high fat. Those are the kind of crops that are in some of those convenience stores because they can stay longer, so, and most of the time they are relatively cheap. Those are the things that the mothers can afford. And again, at very early age, we start forming our own taste, start forming our own habits or things we like to eat. See, it's not that, okay, kids are born, naturally they are born liking to eat party food or salty this or salty that. Most of the time is what they were introduced to at very early age. And with time, they develop that liking for those things. Developing liking for those things can lead to certain things like high blood pressure, obesity, and a host of other situations. Attitudes, positive attitude, negative attitude. See, because again, our attitude towards things can either be positive or negative. And certain things that are poor for our health, we should not have any positive attitude towards those things. But unfortunately, we do. So there is, okay, the home, the community, and the society. What are those things that are really taught? Or if not even taught, what do they experience or observe? Because most of these things is not that, okay, somebody sits down and say, okay, this is what A, B, C, D. Most of the time it's just, it's what they observe. And behaviors. You see grown-ups around them smoking, they're likely to smoke. Drinking, they are likely to drink. So again, most of these are things that as the human lifespan is progressive from conception, childbirth, infancy, childhood, and adolescents, young adults, these are all progressive. And those things does not exist in a vacuum. They exist in a society, in a community. And most of the things that the society really produces, those will contribute to either influence the behavior that young adults will take, or discourage the behavior that young adults will take. It's a big challenge. Also, they're mindful of peer pressure, the friends they have. You see, because some kids can be coming from homes wherein certain behaviors are highly discouraged. But because of peer influence, peer pressure, they give in to bad behavior. And that contributes to issues that is going to impact them gravely down the road. Society, what do they have? Do they have opportunities, libraries wherein kids can go read, playgrounds, grocery stores, or are they surrounded by violence, drugs, prostitution? So because all of these could be challenges that can impact those kids to advance to the next demographic age. Number of adolescents and young adults. In 2010, they were 1/5 of the US population. In 2015, 54% of adolescents were non-Hispanic white. Living arrangement. In 2012, 1/4 lived in single, less than 1/4 live in single parent families. See, this is a challenge. Variations by race and ethnicity. See, some of this, you look at it, it varies. You have, you have the its demographic, employment status, and healthcare access. Most of the time, depending on the type of job you have, or somebody has, will determine what sort of healthcare system they have, or what sort of healthcare access they have. And also, what health type of healthcare system their parent. If their parents have a good healthcare system, they will be under that key healthcare system up to the age of 26. So that is very, very important. But how many of those minorities, minority family, how many of them really have that kind of healthcare system, that kind of employment that can afford them that healthcare service? So because healthcare is very, very important. For one, it helps with primary prevention. You go for checkups. And when you're sick, you go to the doctor for care. You don't wait until when things go extremely bad. Then it's too late. So the participation in labor force has remained fairly constant in recent decades, which simply means minorities, Blacks, Hispanics, and other groups participate less in the work in the labor force than whites. So when it comes to the sort of healthcare system they get, this is it. When you don't have a stable job, a well-paying job that affords you a good healthcare system, it does not only affect the parents, but also affect their children. Disparities by race, and it's very high, again, disparity by race and ethnicity. Say white, young adults, everything being normal, have good healthcare system, a good number of them, because if the parents have a good job, they have the possibility of having a good healthcare system. It doesn't mean all whites, because within when you discuss some of these things, it's very easy to be caught up that all whites have great healthcare system. No, you have some whites who are just worse off because their lack of education. So lack of education puts them at a disadvantage. of getting a good job, living in a good environment wherein they can have good access to the healthcare system. Employment status has impact on access to health insurance and healthcare. Strongly, you are employed, what sort of employment has a great impact on your healthcare insurance and the sort of healthcare you get. And yes, you pray that nobody gets sick. But unfortunately, with living organisms, things can happen, either accidentally or just the nature of your biology. Things can happen. And you want to have a good health insurance that can help you. Mortality. There is a significant decline in death rate over the past several decades. Most due to advances in medicine and to injuries and disease prevention. Technology, science has greatly improved. First of all, in the detection of what causes what. See, because that's the advantage. When scientists have now been able to identify what causes this. So for instance, it took some time for the COVID-19. The first few months, people were working on what the heck was this coronavirus. But once it was identified, scientists went to work to investigate, to find ways in which it could be prevented, develop vaccine. Now they have developed various forms of vaccines that can prevent the destructive impact of this COVID-19. So that's why essentially, again, this might be kind of out of the class. But if you are interested in taking community health and public health, there's some form of interest in you that will want you to make sure that you are healthy as well as the community or the public in which you exist. Please, unless you have some medical reason that has been, your doctor says, well, watch out with. Unless you have that, please, when your time comes for the vaccination, take it. It will save your life, save your family, and put an end to this destructive virus. Yes, we know the history, but this is one time we're in. We know the history, and certain things have been put in place so that history will not repeat itself. So please, when your age bracket is called for vaccination, please take it. Take the vaccination. Don't pretend as if you are macho or this, because this disease has killed young people at your age. has killed a lot of grandfathers, fathers, mothers, uncles, husbands, especially within the minority population. We have to be very, very proactive so that we do all that we can do to reduce the spread of this virus within our population, because we've lost so many. We can do our part to stop it. They have the male mortality rate higher than female. See, even from infancy, most of the time, at the time, female infants are much more likely to survive than male. And as they grow to adolescents and to young adults, male most of the time like to take more risk, be more risk taking. And some of those risks can lead to death. It's much more likely for young adults to drink and drive, smoke, and in some cases even use drugs. So at times, some of this, there's a biology component in some cases, but most of the time it's behavior also. And most of the time likely to use and have guns. Use guns to fight their concern, their battles. See, there used to be a time wherein when somebody does wrong to you, you have this fist fight. But today, now, because of the prevalence of guns, people just use guns. And in most cases, what happens? In fact, in all cases, the person that is killed is gone, and the person who did the killing is gone, because their life is lost in the prison system. And at times also avoid this accident. Drive fast, drive drunk, take unnecessary risk. These are all things that usually do not help. Then you have, it's also depending on certain situations. It's high for, like when you talk of it's talk of almost high, there are significant disparities among race and leading causes of death. Much more likely for death to occur within Black communities in poor neighborhoods. And suicide, depending on where. Especially the challenges we put on young people. Most of the time, whites are also there, in terms of taking their lives. See, people have to build realistic expectations. You see, it's good to be ambitious, but it's always good to be ambitious to a point. Because at times we can be very passionate about something, or maybe we might not have the ability, or we might not have the size. So you use your talent for something else. Don't think because, oh, my plan A didn't work, then the rest of my life is gone. Or the girl I love so much has dumped me, and therefore life is not worth living. Or the boy I loved so much has dumped me, life is not worth living. Or, oh, I've been diagnosed of having this disease. I'm not ready to live with this disease. I'm killing myself. No. You have an issue, talk to somebody you trust. Talk to somebody you trust. Maybe there are a lot of prevention websites. You might think you are the only one faced with that. You will find out that there are thousands within your neighborhood that are faced with the same challenges. So there's nothing worth taking your life for. Time is the medicine for a lot of things. Give yourself time, you will find a way to really prioritize that issue that you thought cannot be prioritized. Talk to people. Talk to people you trust. Seek out information on the web. Seek information that can help, not contribute to the problem. Because the internet has both of those stupid, and one for to kill yourself if you want to, and one not to. Don't kill yourself, because you'll be disappointing a lot of people. You'll be disappointing yourself. Talk your issues through with people that you care for, that cares for you. As you see here, the causes of, let's say the high blue is motor vehicle accidents, related accidents. People going through fast speeds, no wearing speed and no wearing seat belts. See, that's the leading cause of death of young people from age 15 to 24. Now, homicide. Again, it's another wherein people kill each other. People kill. Then you have suicide as the other. Then you have cancers. Most of the time, cancers are usually maybe they're genetic at that stage. People develop some of those things, either family history or just the luck of the draw. Then you have heart disease. Again, in most cases, some of those could be genetic. And so you have motor vehicle homicides, suicide, cancer, and heart disease. Now, morbidity. It's communicable diseases. You have measles, immunizations, very important. You have to take all the necessary available immunizations. You have the sexually transmitted diseases, very important to make sure that you avoid contracting these sexually transmitted diseases. See, because most of the time, try to know the sex history of your partner. It's difficult, especially if you love the partner. People might tell you all sorts of lies, only to find yourself being caught up with the disease. So these sexually transmitted infections have to be very careful. If you want to engage in sexual activities, use preventive means. And if you're going to use preventive means, don't wait when it is too late. That is a decision that should be made ahead of trying to engage in any sexual activities. You wait till the last minute, you might not. If you're going to use condoms, you might not use the condom the right way because by now all the hormones are, and you might even ignore it. And the sad part of it is you can get yourself messed up for less than 5 minutes of pleasure. Here I'm saying 5 minutes. It could be less than 5 minutes. So don't really put yourself in a situation for less than 5 minutes. Here I'm really being very generous. For some, it could be 1 minute. And you have to deal with a lifelong disease that you have to deal with. The age group acquiring nearly half of all the new STDs in the USA. See, there's young adults. They are acquiring nearly half of all new STDs. Most of the time also, this idea of I am free, I can have sex with anybody that I want to, only to find out that there's not much difference. The only difference is you are increasing your chances to acquire a lot of diseases. Sex partners, the number does not really help. If you want to be really healthy, avoid yourself from getting STDs. Don't look at the numbers as an advantage. Oh, I'm plain, I'm free. I can have sex with anybody that I want to. Yeah, you can have sex with anybody that you want to. And at the same time, that anybody that you want to, if you don't watch out, can give you a disease that you have to live with. So you have to be extremely careful. Some effects can last a lifetime. Some diseases never go away. So Be careful. You have like viruses, don't go away. You get one, it stays with you for quite some time. It stays with you for the rest of your life. HIV is still around. So you have to, now that are cures, but still you have to deal with the not only the stigma, but all the other things that goes with it. So please be very careful with your sexual behavior.